Hey, everybody, welcome again. We've got the dynamic trio and me at the sidekick here. We've got Adam, Evgeniy, and Nim. This is edition number 7 of the Cybersecurity Defense Ecosystem podcasting thingies. And today we're going to talk about a few things that's hitting the world, I guess. You know, cloud attacks that's going on, what's going on out there with Cloudflare and all the other stuff recently. And we're going to talk a little bit about Anthropic and maybe that AI thing that those hackers have been using to get to us humans. Adam, Nim, Evgeniy, man, how are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Great.
I'm doing really well.
All right. So first of all, anything exciting happened in your life this week, Adam? Let's start with you first.
I have such a boring life. This is the most exciting thing.
I like that. I like where you're going with this. Evgeniy, anything exciting happened?
Yeah, it's been a busy week already. A good friend of mine released a book that is very awesome for CISOs as well, Ross Young. Maybe something we can promote as well. And it's been interesting in general. So yeah, and preparing for next week.
Oh, there we go. Yes. Nim, how about you, man?
Putting my money where my mouth is. I bought a robot.
Oh, you did.
Wait a
How
second.
tall is it?
So next month you not show up, your robot will do it instead of you?
I don't know. I might bring him along with me. We'll see. We see how it works.
Bring it next
Tell
week,
us about
man.
the robot.
How tall is it? Is it taller than you?
It's about my height, so I'm not too worried. I can probably take it.
5 feet or what?
It's about 5'6".
Hey man, once you could beat it up, it's all good. By the way, did you see the robot in China when they did that release, and the robot had a face plant?
No, that was in Russia.
That was in Russia.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
You got the region right. That side.
Yeah.
Of it.
They didn't get Evgeniy to engineer it.
No, there you go, man. Everybody's trying to build robots, man. So at least I think we're maybe we have a little bit of time out against that. But then next time, bring your robot, man. Let's see what it can do. What do you expect it to do, by the way?
I have very low expectations. I
Is
just wanted to be an early adopter, and I wanted to see what I can do with it.
it going to wash your clothes, catch your coffee?
That's what they say. Neo is the household AI robot. So basically, Neo's initial learning patterns are with a controller. So there's a person on the other end with a VR headset training the motion behavior into Neo, and then some of the edge cases in terms of, if something's going to fall, how do you stop it, right?
Oh.
But over time, Neo, when it becomes generally available, so when they finally ship, Neo should have the corpus of behavior and action. So, hey, Neo, go empty the dishwasher. Neo will know that's a dishwasher. Open it, put the plates away, and you'll have to tell them where the plates go.
What did this set you back, man? Money-wise?
It's 20 grand one time or $4.99 a month. So, as far as I'm concerned, he's a business.
Robots as a service?
It includes support, service, everything. So $4.99 a month.
You can change your winter tires?
I am ready to train this thing to do a lot of things. So he's going to go through, or it's going to go through the rigmarole.
Yeah. Well, if I were you, man, I just change the locks, get a really big lock on my door, my bedroom door, because you don't want to have that thing overlooking you, at night, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just gonna say that and leave. Anyways, this is not about cybersecurity, but let's jump into the first thing about cybersecurity here, my friends. So, man, it looks like this cloud thing is sort of having some cracks. We had some AWS challenges. We had some things happening out there. Cloudflare is hitting it right now. What's going on, man? Who wants to start first? Nim, I pick you, man. You start first.
Oh, you pick me. All right. I don't know. I think that, I had a bunch of people freaking out yesterday saying, oh my God, ChatGPT is not available. Whatever shall I do? The degree of dependency that we've built on reliance on AI systems and cloud platforms is really cool. And 100% of the time, well, 99% of the time, it's a DNS issue. We blame DNS when things go down, right? Azure, Amazon. I think Cloudflare was they must have hired the guy that worked at Amazon and AWS, and he was like, hey, look what I can do. Oh, production change. But you know what? It's inevitable as our result, as our dependency becomes more and more on these cloud systems, that we have to start thinking about business process resiliency in the event the cloud is not available, right? As highly available as it is, as like redundant as it is, geo redundancy, site redundancy, all these nice things in the cloud. if it's a DNS issue, you won't be able to get to it, but you also can't get to a million other things. So if you're in a critical service industry, what are your key business processes? How are those processes redundant? How are you establishing workarounds for the processes if your cloud isn't available? These are the conversations that we're supposed to start having soon. And we've taken it for granted for far too long.
Well, let's see how we can get around that. But Adam, what's your take, man? It just feels to me that this cloud thing is sort of cracking more often now than in the past. We're seeing some bigger outages, right? So is this a sign that we've kind of reached, I don't want to say a breaking point, but are we at a point now when the thing is just simply too big and ballooning up?
Well, I think, so first of all, we've been doing these types of scenarios in disaster recovery, continuity of operations with our customers for almost 2 years. Because there have been other things. There have been cascading outages at Google and other places. But yes, you're right. Lately we have had a lot more of these things. And I think and you saw some things with CrowdStrike before as well, even though that's not the same thing. Well, I think what it illustrates kind of goes to what Nim was saying, is that we are very reliant on these platforms. And when these things happen, sometimes it exposes things that you didn't even know. For example, yesterday, someone who works for us was trying to pay a couple of bills through a bank card, and they were getting some errors. And so immediately when I saw the message, I was like, it's a Cloudflare issue. And so I reached out to the bank. I haven't even heard back yet, but I mean, it had to be what it was, because there's money in the bank and there's no, like it had to be that, because it was yesterday. And sometimes it takes a while for these things to clear through. But yeah, what's important is, what are your most critical systems and business processes? And if you can, obviously, want to back up data to a different cloud provider, have as much redundancy as possible. It's going to be overkill for most applications and SaaS providers to have, like, hey, I've got operations in GCP, I've got Azure, I've got AWS. That's going to be overkill, and it's not going to work from a cost perspective for most people.
Yeah.
But for some it may. And I'll give you another example, and then I'll shut up. Like, we were down, SureStack, we were down when the AWS thing happened. And so we were down briefly. And so I was like, hey, we probably, given what we do, we need to have operations in a couple different places. But again, that's not for everybody.
Think about that. And I think we talk a lot about agile. We talk a lot about no-code. We talk about Lambda for functions and many other different things. So we're trying to build an architecture that are no longer reliant on one gigantic box. We're trying to have a very small part of the architecture so we can scale horizontally. And it means that when we have more pressure, more customers, more things happening, we can scale faster with the provider. So in theory, if you're very agile and you have a very good recovery plan and you have a lot of CI/CD and you have a lot of automation and templates, can you rebuild your entire infrastructure on a different AWS region? Can you rebuild your entire infrastructure on GCP using Terraform and some other things? In theory, yes. In practicality, majority of the companies using something very dependable in AWS, like Lambda, for example, or Azure using functions, that it's not so easy to move to a different cloud provider. But with all the changes and all the problems we've been having for the last 6 months with different providers, and if you remember the outage of the DNS, DNS 5-6 years ago, I think so. There was like a lot of aha moment. What happened if one major DNS provider goes down a node? We need to start thinking about this. How do I build my environment that maybe doesn't have to be active redundant in 2 different providers, but I have a way under several hours to move it over there to still be operational. And the calculation is relatively easy. If I am not operational for 1 hour, how much money do I lose? Can I calculate this number? And how much it will cost me to actually create such infrastructure or have a way to move somewhere else? then you try to understand how much money you lose. If you don't lose a lot of money, then you maybe just wait. And if you understand you're going to lose a lot of money, then yes, you need to put money in this automation and development to be able to be much more resilient.
Or maybe it's the internet just saying, hey, man, take a break. Go do something else. Um, how bad is
I
this?
love to investors.
Yeah. How bad is this problem, you think? I mean, is it down for that long, too long, or the length of time is too much? Or are we just, over exaggerating, what these outages are meaning to the business or to the people out there? I mean, you couldn't get your bank card to work, right, Adam, or whatever. But eventually that worked, right? But is it really worth it now that we should be doing redundancy stuff?
Well, but if you look at we'll go back to AWS. There were businesses, that were losing a lot of money, by being down just for a few hours or a day. So, and I think but because the fact that we're talking about this is also a testament to how well this stuff works day in and day out, right? It is pretty, knock on wood, pretty well designed, but nothing's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's going to go down for sure. But Nim, what's your take, man? Are we overblowing this issue?
I don't think we're blowing it over. I think it's a good time to talk about something that in my opinion, a lot of CIOs and CISOs don't bring up in these vendor discussions, is asking about operations of a platform in what I call degraded mode. I mean, there's probably like a technical word, but for example, there are products like Square, talk about point of sale, not that I'm endorsing Square or anything, Shopify POS or Square, they have an offline transaction. So when DNS services are down or Cloudflare is down, transactions will still be queued using their tools in degraded mode, so that when things are back up, those transactions will get posted and go through. So the question to ask is, when you're building reliance on critical platforms, from a resiliency perspective, have those conversations with the vendor or partner to say, what is that degraded mode of operations? What happens if we've got DNS issues or cloud is down, this connectivity is down? What will work for me and what will stop working for me? And have that language communicated amongst the stakeholders who are relying on this from a business perspective. Because people just run to IT and say, oh, it's not working. Nothing works. Everything's down. I want to go home.
Yeah. It's a good point you make. I mean, we never really asked these companies, like, what's your uptime plan? Like everybody says they're 99995 nines, whatever, right? But I mean, what is it? Like, what happens when it does go down, right?
What's your offline mode?
Yeah. Is there some, well, let me ask that question then. Do companies have this offline mode, or is this something that it's, yeah?
Oh yeah,
Not
like
always.
for example, WhatsApp switches to peer-to-peer mode if network services are down.
Yeah, it depends on the business and what.
Depends on the business.
Some of them are really relying on having that.
But think also about that. We're talking about losing money. That's one part. We're talking about investment, maybe losing money. But we also have critical services. Yes, other services maybe depend on the cloud because part of the critical services are somewhere. So if I design, let's think about something. If I design a bracelet for elderly people, and then something happened, they can put a button and somebody will know about the problem, and this service resign in the cloud because this is the best way to do it, then now I'm talking about critical care potentially or something similar. And there's many other examples of monitoring that may be impacted as well.
Like fire and police stuff and whatever, right? I mean, man, you don't want to have that that delay, right? But I mean, these days, even like with most people don't even have landlines anymore, right? So like how do you identify where the call is coming from? It's like the whole society is sort of changing. We're using cell phones now, right? Most certainly the younger generation don't have landlines, right? So if you do have a fire, you got to really tell people where that fire is, right? Like, how does that work, by the way? If you only call from a cell phone, no one knows where you are, right?
They have triangulation. They get with the cell providers. They can triangulate it by the towers they connect.
That's how they catch the murderers, man. Apparently,
they use cell triangulation in offline mode. So even when we talk about core E911 services, at the end of the day, core E911 services all get switched down to their PSTN style service. So when the operator is talking to you, yes, you've got your cell phone, but they're using a very stable non-internet based communication mode.
Oh, well, geez, I learned something today, my friends. Let's gear up the conversation, this AI thing. AI is changing every day type thing, and it's pretty cool. I saw the latest stuff from Google. You don't even need to know how to do prompting as much anymore. They're making it better, right? I think ChatGPT is now at 5.1, and what's the next number of Google? I think it's like what, 3 point something or whatever, and Anthropic. And we had some news about Anthropic with our cybersecurity hacker friends. What's going on there?
You recently had some experience with that, right, Adam?
Yeah, I was talking about this the other day. This is interesting. This was the first time that you really heard about an attack that was perpetrated, developed everything within an AI platform. And this was, and I think the article that you referenced came out about a week or two ago. And actually, I think Anthropic put out, maybe came directly from them, and they sort of said, "Hey, this is what happened," and they talked a little bit about what they might do to, or will do and have done to prevent it from happening in the future. The point is, though, it's a cat and mouse game, right? It's always been that way. You can put guardrails in, but it's just very hard to prevent this kind of thing. So my understanding of what happened is that this threat actor, they used the platform to do everything, like write the malware, write the phishing messages, like do the research, like pretty much everything. Evgeniy, you might have a little more insight on it, but it's really, I think it's going to be happening more and more in the future.
The key highlight is it wasn't a vulnerability-based attack, right? Anthropic's Claude was jailbroken using, again, I'm using human words to explain AI, but essentially they social engineered AI to behave that way. And that's how they hijacked Claude to sort of perform the activities that it did. It wasn't an exploit. And it wasn't prompt injection. It was social engineering against AI.
Gee, Evgeniy, what's your take on what's going on there, man?
So this is kind of interesting. If you think about this, we always had script kitties. We also have some kind of scripts and automation. The difference between the past and right now is that I run a script and run an automation. Then based on the results, I decide which next script I'm running or what's next I'm doing. What are we talking right now? This is the entire idea of agentic AI, when it can decide by itself what you're doing next. So if I tell ChatGPT under the agent way to go and find me the best sushi restaurant in Toronto with some of the criteria, it will use some of the logic, will find places and adjust itself. So here, what we're talking about is we can give a target, we can specify some criteria, and the bad guys can do it faster. So the entire idea in my mind, that the big difference is the bad guys can now go faster, cover more ground, and find the problems in our environment, in the customer environment, much faster. It means that we have to be more diligent. I don't believe there was some kind of emails and blogs on internet. The AI gonna uncover new attacks, new defenses. The AI may uncover new vulnerabilities, but they're gonna use the existing attacks much faster, and they're gonna find the new problems we have, not new, the existing problem we have right now much faster as well. So this is the problem I see. The bad guys can cover much more ground faster. It means we need to use the tools we have better. Some of the tools probably should use AI to do it better as well. This could be analyzing the information, adapt your controls, understand your assets, understand your inventories. But fundamentally, it means that we need to go back to the basics to make sure the basics are covered and we're mapping the controls to some kind of findings like MITRE and much more.
I mean, at the end of the day, right, we didn't really, well, no one thought that the hackers could use Anthropic or an LLM, right? To
But they
kind
can use something else. They can have their own AIs. They can develop their own open source. They have many different LLMs that are open source as well.
Yeah, you can just host your own. But I think what you're saying, Julian, is, or what I'm understanding is that, that's Anthropic's a well-known, platform. There are others as well, obviously, but they have guardrails and controls in place to prevent what Nim was
Yeah.
talking about, to prevent tricking it. But again, they're clever, right? And it's a cat and mouse game. And I don't know how. I'm not sure where that ends. It's just there were some
Does it
ideas.
feel to you, Adam and Evgeniy and Nim, that as we're still in early days, right, of AI, right? And I'm always surprised every day when I learn about, wow, like then I didn't think about that. It's another thing, that's adding to it, right? What's your take on the state of AI, these LLMs today? We're seeing all the big brands, right, doing great stuff, right? What's your take on these LLMs? Where are we? Are we at a point when we're getting to become more afraid, or we're able to use it better? Where are we? What's in your head?
Is that for me? Or go ahead, Nim.
No, go ahead.
Well, I think we're in the early days, and we're in terms of where we're at, and I would say that we're at a point where AI, unfortunately, I think there's more. It's easy to use, and it's being used better by the offensive side than it is on the defensive side. We're trying to catch up, and I believe that there's obviously, Evgeniy and I know there's lots of good solutions out there that are making good use of AI for defensive purposes. But I just feel like we're a little bit behind.
So, and then do you see that the offense folks, those bad actors, they're using it a little better than the defensive side, or are we catching up, or what?
No, 100%. They have more resources. They have more people. They have more experience. And they have the most important thing. They have nothing to lose. For us to adopt a maturity and performance level that they're achieving, we have to trade off something we're willing to lose. And that could be compute and money. That could be risk versus the reward. There's always a trade-off on our side. There's no trade-off on their side. They will always win, so they just dump everything into it, right? I mean,
and it's also about the attack surface too. Like Evgeniy was saying, it's just that attack surface is still there. It's been there. It's just they're able to move faster at finding those things and then exploiting them.
So remember, the whole Claude LLM vulnerability, Julian, it happened in a well-orchestrated series of small prompts that slowly shifted Claude's belief from thinking, you're asking me to do something bad, to, oh, I can tell you about this, I can tell you about this, I can tell you about this. And the total sum of the responses allowed them to create the risk within the platform, right? They didn't go at it one full thing. They asked a series of small prompts, right, in order to find the gap in the guardrail, right? So if you're driving along the 401, you've got the solid concrete barrier, and then on one side, you've got the two metal beams, right? And there's that space in between. And so if you think of that as data guardrails, or the LLM's model guardrails, what they did was they tried to find that slot in between and get answers to the slot in between, which theoretically, they use the model the way it was made. To Anthropic's credit, they identified it, they detected it, they managed it, and then we learned about it, obviously, because they communicated it. Hey, guys, we caught these bunch of guys doing this. We suspended all their accounts. They're forever blocked from any system and tool, maybe until they get another email address and they fool us again. But for now, they are not allowed to use the system.
Evgeniy, what's your take on this AI on the offense or defense situation? We all know that a lot of cybersecurity solutions are baking in AI into their platform to detect and predict and all that cool stuff, right? But is the offense still winning, or?
First of all, if you think it's not a thing, it's definitely a thing. During Black Hat, there were several companies that demonstrated AI pen testing very successfully. And I always say, show me the money, follow the money. Recently, very recently, a second-time founders that sold a company to Akamai for 600 million just started a new company, and they raised a C round of $75 million to basically build an AI hacker. This is probably the biggest C round in cybersecurity space that I am familiar with right now. They've been working on the product for the last 5-6 months, and they claim it's already operational and it's already working. And can just show you that the industry is going there and the industry is working on this.
So if I get you right there, or if I hear you correctly, so they're building a tool that's a hacker that can actually do pen testing automatedly, and
Yes.
we're concerned maybe. Do you think maybe the bad actors have something like this already? That's or can a bad actor subscribe to that solution to
Probably
actually
not the
pen test?
solution, but they can probably build their own. Like we
Right.
mentioned before, there's many open source LLMs. You as a human being right now can subscribe to AWS and have your own device running LLMs. You don't need so much as you needed in the past. You can probably buy a laptop that can run LLMs locally. Not probably, you can do it already right now. So for the bad guys to put some money in the infrastructure to run their own LLMs is not such a big deal right now.
More to come on this issue, man. I tell you, monitoring what's happening in the AI game from the bad actors seems to be like every day is a new gig. I learned today that we've got these discovery tools, right? That we're all familiar with, and apparently the bad actors are using discovery tools to figure out like what's your, what you've got in your network, all the endpoints and so on. Are bad actors really using the same tools that the defense is using to figure out, where these gaps are?
Hey man, path of least resistance. If I can get someone's username and password and I log into their environment and they've got Copilot enabled, why would I not like try to use Copilot to get what I need and
Right.
I can mess around? Like it's probably not going to exploit them right away. Live off the land, look at some documents, study what I can, wait for the right time. But yeah, path of least resistance. Why not?
Damn.
Yeah, and
Same
in
tools
terms of
against
like
us.
the external stuff, I mean, things like Shodan and tools like that, there's tons of things. I mean, if you plug a device in that's publicly accessible, there's been a lot of studies. It'll be owned in minutes sometimes, depending on what's available. But it's being scanned. Like if you have to assume that scans are happening constantly.
There you go. Well, anybody has any more topics you want to jump in there with before? I mean, I've got one with the non-human things I've been trying to deal with to figure out exactly, is that a thing? It's like, is these non-human things a thing in cybersecurity? Are hackers using this right now? I mean, obviously we know like what, apparently 85% of the internet traffic is non-human things, right?
Always had bots.
Bots. And is it really how big is a problem, man? Is this a problem we got to worry about?
Sounds like we need to worry about every problem.
You got 99 problems and they're all real.
Yeah, I have one more.
How do we prioritize this problem?
One other thing I wanted to it's sort of an add-on to what we were talking about earlier just now with regard to abusing AI platforms. But I was reading something recently about there's a proliferation of basic, I don't want to call it organized crime, but a more organized sort of effort by these groups to scam folks. They call them scam farms. There was a movie that included this. I don't know recently, but this stuff's really happening. And I think it also goes back to your question, Julian, about how hard is it to just stand up your own LLMs? These groups absolutely have their own tools and their own LLMs, and they have people working around the clock. And now they're that much more effective because of AI. So that's something to be concerned with.
So what's the latest breach? I mean, this game just continues, right? And what's the latest breach that you've heard about that, I don't know, surprised you, but was a pretty bad one.
Mm.
There's been a lot.
I heard about the $5 billion one or whatever crazy number is from Land Rover or something. Or I know
Yes, this was something crazy. I don't have all the details, but this was definitely crazy.
it was Marks and Spencer that spent a couple of $100 million to get out of a problem, and apparently they changed providers. Man.
I think it was Harrods, right? It was Harrods.
Well, there were two in
UK.
England, and one of those, I think it was Marks and Spencer. One of those, what surprised me was just like, I don't think they communicated very well, and I don't think they handled it very well for a while. And for an organization that big, I think that was surprising.
Marks and Spencer's, or yeah,
I think it was that.
Yeah, they're for sure were hit. I think, yeah. So
big money.
So any other things that you want to mention regarding any interesting hacks that happened that we should be aware about that was a little different?
The Louvre one was very interesting because the reconnaissance work was done using the Louvre security system, whose security password was the word Louvre, lowercase. And that just goes to show that when you've got IT and OT technology working together, a lot of us do a fantastic job securing our network and forget about the OT components such as security cameras, door sensors, card access systems, right? These are, if anything, also an edge of security that we have to take seriously. And, maybe the outcome would have been different if the password wasn't Louvre, because they couldn't have done the reconnaissance work.
What about Louvre 1 at the very least, I just want So let's talk about the OT stuff for a second here, because a lot of companies got these OT devices, right? And a lot of them are outdated, haven't been updated in like a decade. Some of them are obsolete. Some of them are not being patched at all. And apparently, a lot of these devices itself comes with these factory installed passwords, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever that, or the word password or something like that, right? What's your thoughts on that, on these OT devices? I mean, there are gazillions of them out there, right? And I don't even know if companies know how many of these devices are actually connected to their company.
It's a passionate topic at our firm, Julian, because we just published a white paper on the convergence of IT and OT. So as far as a CTO or CIO or CISO should be concerned, there's one T, not IT and OT, it's technology, right? Because when something goes wrong in an operational context and a conveyor belt is down, your camera systems are down, you can't make milk or ice cream or whatever, the CIO doesn't sit back and say, oh, well, that's an operations problem, let them take care of it. No, everyone still runs to the CIO's office, say, the network is down. Really? I'm online. What's down? Oh, the conveyor belt stopped working, right? So if we stop segregating these things and start looking at vulnerabilities and threat risk across a single threat plane, it's going to be that much more defensive for us, because those are significant vulnerabilities that we are responsible for as technology leaders in the company that we're not giving the attention and detail to. So understanding how you can take common CVEs in the tech stack and see how those CVEs also apply to the OT systems and have one strategy to fix them all.
Those things, when they go down, even could have maybe even more impact, right? I mean, if you can't make ice cream, apparently it melts. So, you got to make sure that stuff is working. So, I mean, there's all these obsolete stuff, though, that people have still in their companies. These UPSs, devices that now talks to the cloud. And I know there's these, plug-in stuff in the walls, and you got these ring things and, all this thermostat stuff, and of course your locks and whatever. And we all know the old story with the aquarium at one of them, casinos that people hacked into. Are we seeing this still happening, or has people figured this out?
No, they haven't figured it out.
Yikes.
Without the right tools, you're never going to know that there's this obsolete device sitting in, this VLAN in this operational floor that if you don't discover, you don't know.
Man, yeah, and obviously, thank thank goodness we haven't had a major issue where the attackers like harmed somebody, but like there was a case in Florida where they were going to make changes to the water system, which
Okay.
could have really, I mean, with the chemicals, it could have been really bad. But so they got lucky. Some IT guy saw something weird. But there are threat actors throughout these SCADA systems. Um, honestly, it's also kind of like the hospital life support systems.
Yeah,
I
because there's
think
a ton of OT
they're,
stuff
they're
there.
in they're in there as well. Honestly, I think it's just because they don't want to cause something. I think with the power grid stuff and the water stuff, I think they're just they're going to try and keep their access there as long as they can and use that in the case of some sort of geopolitical event or some other thing. I think that's the only reason that they haven't done anything. They just want to keep their access.
It's only when they really want to screw up a country that they're going to pull that thing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, man. Eddie, I'll leave everybody here with the last comment. What else do you want to add to this convo and about cybersecurity and what's worrying you these days? Evgeniy, what's worrying you, man?
Yeah, so I think so. We mentioned AI several times, and I want to emphasize something different. It's not the bad guys, it's not the vendors, is what kind of LLMs you're running inside your companies that you're not aware about them, and what kind of R&D you people are doing to develop something that you're not aware about them. And there's two parts here. What kind of access this LLM has to your data, potentially can be exposed, and what do you put in these LLMs as well to use them for them to use maybe you're not supposed to do, like PII information, for example.
Okay. And then what's keeping you awake at night these days, man? Besides when it arrives and you don't even know it arrived, not
it's to Evgeny's point, there's a whole new definition of shadow IT, right? With a credit card, someone can gain access to a cloud AI service that offers a simple build agentic workflows, create a bot to do certain tasks. And because of our inability to identify, detect, or understand from a business perspective that the business needs this and IT should provide it, we miss that. And now there's a bunch of agents out there who are performing tasks on behalf of an employee, and I have no idea that it's happening. Or as a customer CIO, I wouldn't know that it's happening. And I think as technology leaders, we need to build relationships with our business partners to start having these discussions to say, hey, there's a lot of stuff in the news and a lot of stuff online about AI, this and that, and agentic. What do you need, right? But then at the same time, have the telemetry and the tools to identify and report, not block yet, of what they're actually using. So that as a leadership team, we're having a discussion on, hey, why are there 95 different AI tools in this company? Right? That's better than let me just block everything because they're going to find ways of doing it. That keeps me up.
It's interesting. Adam, what's keeping you awake these days, man?
I've been in this long enough. I don't fret too much.
You sleep like a baby. You take pills, man.
No, but I think for me, definitely the AI, the visibility into what AI systems and where the data is going. We deal with that on a weekly basis. There's always some new request, but I think it's also kind of especially for some of our newer customers, like just doing the basics, like managing the attack surface, transitioning people's minds from, okay, we're going to do an annual pen test, or we're going to do this once a year. We're going to do this and we're good. We're going to write this policy and we're good. Transitioning people's minds to, no, this has to be a continuous process, and from a technology perspective and from personnel perspective, learning and getting better.
It's interesting stuff, man. Great convo again. I mean, it's as a journalist, kind of news guy, I hear all this stuff all day long, right? And literally, I don't know what I should focus on. It's like, is it that? Is it this? Is it? And it's like, it's a little bit of everything, right? And the challenge is like, as an end customer, even as an MSSP, right? Like, what do I focus on first, second, third, right? How do I get the budget, from my customers to pay for all this stuff, right? I mean, what's enough? What's good enough? What's too much? What's unaffordable? And then they're fighting for budget because now AI is, trying to lock up a lot more of the budget, right? So cyber is taking a bit of a second seat, if you will, in the budget game, because a lot of people are trying to figure out how to leverage AI to increase productivity and outcompete the others, right? It's kind of like, man, it's like a bit of a tug of war. Last words, my friend. Nim, what's your last word? Then we jump to Evgeniy and then Adam.
If you're not using AI, you're definitely behind. But if you're using AI and you're not using it securely, you're in trouble.
I would use the word screwed, but trouble. Evgeniy, what's your take in the last call?
Last call is I'm excited for next week for the session we're doing in Toronto. And if you're gonna listen to this, you can not register. There's a lot of good stuff coming, a lot of people, a lot of excitement. We'll talk about AI, security, and much more.
Yeah, and we'll record some of this stuff so we can share it as well. Adam, what's your last word there, my friend?
I think if get to your point earlier, where do you focus? If you haven't done an assessment, you need to do some kind of assessment. You need to have a roadmap and a strategy. And if you don't have the expertise in-house, find a partner. But you need to start there, figuring out where you are, and then build a roadmap and a strategy, to get there.
There you have it, man. Episode 7. And what we're trying to do with this stuff is just kind of like have a conversation once a month at least, and kind of like guide the journey along the cybersecurity world, right? And just talk about what's happening in the market, what's going on, what you shouldn't be doing, and hopefully you get some insights and fix some stuff. Adam, Nim, Evgeniy, it's always great, man. See you next month. Cheers. Next week event. Cheers.